Hi there, welcome to I Alone Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Pisces energy, and we're going to get out the cards, and then we're going to read the story from a couple different perspectives, because not everybody harnesses their Pisces energy the same way. You know, a more immature Pisces energy that anyone can harness, and some people do, can just be more caught up in the illusion of themselves, about love, about the world. And High Vibe Pisces has learned to be more independent of their more worldly, egoic, immature nature, and are more independent and have learned how to love themselves and believe in themselves, and no more caught up in illusion. No more caught up in the illusion that it should be all about them, or more manipulated by the world, or caught up in the illusion of other people. They've learned enough lessons in life to deal with the truth. And the truth is, love is to be just and fair. You're supposed to treat other people the way you like to be treated. And if it's a romantic relationship, it's supposed to be because of love. But there's 50% of the people in the world of duality that really don't want to do love. You get hurt doing love. So they want to be in the relationships, but it's more either being in the relationship, being more codependent, fearful of love, or caught up in the illusion of these things that people are caught up in. I'm also getting some cards out of the Cost of Becoming deck, and we got 3 cards. Feeling unseen starts when you abandon yourself. You stayed loyal to what was already leaving, and missing boundaries always comes at a price. So yeah, high vibe energy is kind of knowing your worth and value, loving yourself, being less codependent on other people to love and believe in you because you love and believe in yourself. Doesn't mean you don't want to be in loving, supportive relationships, but you know, if people aren't being like authentic and like just and fair, you have good boundaries within yourself. So let's go see what's going on in Pisces energy. We have the Ten of Cups, the Page of Swords, the Hierophant, the Page of Cups, and the Devil. And the reason this came out is because of the Fool card. So the Fool card, generally associated with Aries, fire sign energy, which is about the self, but it's also Aquarius and Pisces. Some people are still more about themselves. It's kind of about, in their Pisces nature of the Ten of Cups, kind of just indulging themselves. And for some people, that's their truth. For other people, they're still maybe more caught up in a more worldly view of life, want to be in relationships, like to be in relationships, but it's still more about the Hierophant in Taurus can be about our philosophy of life, and a more worldly philosophy of life is I want to be in relationships, I want to be in jobs, I want to have friendships and all that stuff. But kind of where no one has to face their fears and become more independent of that way of viewing life. Let's get in a relationship, let's be in friends, let's have jobs, but let's make our life more about investing in this more worldly view of life, which again, if not being codependent on other people, it can just be more codependent on the world. And some people are codependent on other people in their life, like friends or family group, and they're not willing to become more independent of them. Those type of people could get in relationships with other people who, in all 3 of their water sign nature, of their Cancer, their Pisces, their Scorpio, they want these things of the world just like other people do, but they less like conforming to the world or being manipulated by their own worldly nature and other people in the world. They're more inspired to face their fears, and you know, they have different philosophies of life, and we can get in those relationships that are more mismatched, and we can both challenge each other's belief systems. If someone who's more hopeful and believing in love, that is like a threat to people who are more about themselves in the world, because you want them to face their fears and challenge our belief system and do love. And the loving people in a relationship with people who are more immature, self-indulgent, more about themselves, more about things they indulge in, or make their life the most important thing is the ego or the image or the status, that kind of challenges their belief system. And so it's sometimes being in relationship with people where, we do have these very different ways of viewing life. What we could think is just and fair of how to treat people in a relationship, shadowy people think it's just and fair to be more about themselves or bossy or controlling or abusive, or to stay in it more for these worldly reasons, and the other people don't. And so, as you have gathered from that, I view the devil sometimes can be where we challenge other people's belief systems. And sometimes in some of those relationships, we do view life differently. We do have these different philosophies of life. We do have these different ways of looking at the world. And some of those relationships don't work. And so some people, the high vibe people move on wanting to not live life like that. And the other people will keep repeating that pattern because that is their truth. So then we have the Magician and the Queen of Wands. The Magician is Gemini of our dualistic nature, along with Virgo about what our long-term kind of truth and philosophy is. And the Queen of Wands I view as Leo. We're either inspired and more manipulated by our worldly egoic nature, and the people who are going to defend harnessing this energy in a more shadowy way, more about themselves, want to be in more codependent relationships, more about ego, image, or status, and they're going to go try to find other people who are more on the same page as them. And the people who have been in kind of more mismatched relationships, they realize that's not my truth. I am more inspired in high vibe Leo, Gemini, and Virgo. I want to emotionally grow and mature myself. I'm, less manipulated by these things of the world. And though I could have love for those people, whether they are my adult child, brother, sister, mom, dad, friend, romantic interest, our truth is different. Again, in the Knight of Swords, which is Gemini energy, our truth is different. What we emotionally want to invest in and our truth in our philosophy of life, I view the Queen of Pentacles like the Hierophant, Taurus energy, just seeing that their truth is different. And in order to move forward in life, we kind of need to get out of our ego about it. So we offer truth and love to ourselves, to accept the fact that some people are more immature or shadowy or materialistic or codependent, and that's not our truth. And we work through it and take that time to work through it. And then when we have worked through it emotionally, because the feminine figures talk about how we think and feel, that's when we're ready to move forward. No longer stuck. The Three of Swords comes after the Two of Swords. The Two of Swords can, struggling back and forth, because we can have a hard time accepting the truth about some people in our life. We can have a hard time accepting they're more immature, or they're bossy, or controlling, or abusive, or materialistic, or egotistical, or whatever, Because high vibe people think everybody is motivated and inspired by love. The worldly people think everybody's motivated and inspired by the world. And the egotistical, self-centered people, they think everybody should make their life more about them. And eventually, we can't stay in denial of the truth anymore. And we kind of get balance between our mind and our heart. And love is what helps people do that. And those people offer themselves that cup of love to the Eight of Cups, walks away from the Seven of Cups, which some people are just still caught up in things that they're emotionally attached to. A way of looking at life, a way of viewing life, their defensive nature, their prideful nature, their immature nature, self-indulgent nature, whatever it is. And we can't make other people... Shadowy energy can be, I don't want to see the truth. Some people haven't learned to love and believe in themselves. Some people, again, are looking for someone to be like a nurturing, loving person to them instead of them having to be a nurturing, loving person to themselves, kind of wanting to be more immature and maybe get in a relationship with someone who seems more mature and then hope that that person will kind of indulge them in their poor behavior out of their love for them, like trying to find someone to replace their mother. And that's not the kind of life that some other people want to live. If they can find someone who wants to, different strokes for different folks. They might find someone who's like, yes, I will indulge you in these ways, or I will make my life about these things. I will stay in a relationship with you for these reasons. They might be people also who are defensive to being heartbroken and want to be in relationships with other people who might be more immature or more bossy or more controlling. Because if they were to get in a relationship with someone who's more loving and more just and fair, they in turn would have to work through their defensiveness, their past pain and heartbreak, and become independent of it. And so when anyone is at one way of living and viewing life, there could be other people that are willing to be in friendship or relationship with them for their own reasons. And for some, emotionally, in the Queen of Cups, which is Scorpio, the Eight of Cups walks away from the Seven of Cups, which is Scorpio. We're either, again, I'm more caught up in the illusion of you, I'm more caught up in the illusion of myself, I'm more caught up in the illusion of these things we both like to indulge in to make ourselves feel better, or I'm more caught up in the illusion of the world, and I think making my life about those things and being in relationship with other people who make their life about those things will make me happy. Other people have maybe already done that, and they realized they were kind of heartbroken because in their Scorpio energy of themselves and their Pisces nature, they are motivated and inspired by love, and they know that love is to be just and fair, and you're supposed to treat other people the way you like to be treated. And if you're in a relationship for romantic interest, it should be because of love, not for all these other reasons, out of your fear of change, your fear of believing in yourself. Shadowy people already, in their Gemini nature told them, if you don't make your life about this, you might be heartbroken that you walked away. You had these things, you were in this friendship, you were in this relationship, you were in this job. It had these things of the world. A lot of these things of the world, that's what the devil tries to tempt us with. It has a lot of these things of the world that we want. You should just give up your dreams and you should invest in this. This is good for your ego and your image. These people want you to stay here. They want to stay in the relationship with you. You just need to give up your dream of being in more deep, meaningful relationships that are more authentic and just and fair, because shadowy relationships are more about manipulating people, maybe hoping other people will change, hoping things will get better, but they keep not getting better. And other people, they listen to, in their free will, their high vibe Gemini nature that said, this is heartbreaking. Yes, you love this job, you love some of these people, would like this to work out the way you want, but it's not. And you have to see the truth of it. If you want your dreams to come into reality, you have to wish them like peace and love and move on. And that's what some people are doing. When we give up on ourself and our dreams and what's just and fair, we can start to feel unseen because the other people really don't want to do justice and fairness and love. And it's just the illusion of love. Basically staying loyal to what was already leaving. If people are kind of shadowy, more about themselves, more immature, want to be indulged, more about the ego and the image, those are the things that drive and motivate them. It's not love. Love is how you build a solid foundation. And if someone comes along with more money, image, status, if that's what they're motivated by, they'll go get in a relationship with those people. If they find someone more fearful, more insecure, more codependent, who would be more willing to indulge them, then they'll go get in a relationship with that person. It's just more about themselves and how it benefits them. Missing boundaries always comes at a price. We're either willing to stand up for truth and love and justice and fairness and acting with character and integrity, or we're willing to compromise those things because we're kind of manipulated by our fear, our insecurity, our fear of being independent, our fear of leaving. And some people are like, I think the devil looks just like the Lover's card, except in the devil card, the people have chains and shackles on them. It's oppressive, it's limiting, it's restricting, it's oppressive, it's imprisoning. Shadowy people, if they make their life more about conforming to the world, they don't want you to be more independent. You are supposed to make your life about conforming to the world. If they have things and people in their life that manipulate them, you are supposed to let those things or those people manipulate you. If they indulge their more immature nature because you love them, you're supposed to indulge them in their more immature nature. If they're hurtful, abusive, unjust, unfair, because you don't love and believe in yourself enough, you're supposed to indulge them in that poor behavior. And some people said no. If you want to stay in denial of the truth and you want to make your life more about you or your ego or your image or being indulged, then enjoy your life. But that's not my truth. If you want to let these things within you and outside of you manipulate you, enjoy your life. I don't find that emotionally fulfilling. I find it kind of heartbreaking. And I don't think it's just and fair. And you think it is just and fair, so, teach your own. Go invest in that. Go live your life that way. That's not my truth. And so, high vibe people are moving forward away from people in their life who they feel are more about themselves, the ego, have other people in their life who manipulate them, could be more codependent on friends or family or someone else. They could be people who like to play that mothering role, like in people's life, whether they're a male or a female. They could like to be in more relationships with people who are more immature or more codependent or whatever, because then in the way it could make them look like they're the more stable, grounded, mature person. And if the whole thing is to create this illusion about the type of person you are, and they like to view themselves as this emotionally stable, grounded, more mature person, they could get in relationships with people who are more kind of immature because in contrast, they look like the more mature person. But they might not realize that the shadowy, more worldly people are going to be surrounded more by more worldly, shadowy people who are happy they think that way because they think that way too. And it's never going to be a more just and fair and loving relationship. It's never going to become independent of these things that manipulate them or that they make more important in their life or that they look to make them feel better. Can they look very victorious and successful in the world? Yeah. Whatever you put your work and effort into, if it's money and status and image, they could have a whole bunch of that. It just might not be in relationships with people who are more loving and more independent because those people probably already left their life. It's people who are willing to be in a relationship with them maybe because of those reasons. And again, if they're more immature and have some shadowy ways of being, there could be people who are willing to be in a relationship with them just because it does provide stability and security, but it's more for those reasons than love. And high vibe people aren't willing to do it. And if high vibe people have their friendships and relationships, they offer truth and love, being authentic. That's high vibe, Leo. In the Page of Swords and the Page of Cups, I do want to work together with you. I do want to be in friendship with you. I do want to work here. But, it has to be acting with character and integrity and being just and fair. And if that's not how some of the people are being, they are going to eventually will communicate their truth to those people, that if this doesn't move forward differently and these habits or ways of being don't change, it's kind of like, I'm sorry, but we're going to have to part ways. If I'm your employer, you have to go. I'm firing you. If I'm your friend, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to keep indulging you in poor behavior or chasing after you. I want to be in relationships with other people who have worked through whatever issues they needed to work through to be inspired within themselves to want to work together with people in a more just and fair and authentic and loving way. And if that's not you, then I wish you peace. And the people in my life that are those kind of people are the people I'm going to keep investing more of my time, energy, and effort into. So, what's coming up for some people who harness some high vibe Pisces energy that they might not see coming? The Three of Pentacles. Why? Because of the Wheel of Fortune. The Devil and the Three of Pentacles are Capricorn energy. We can all be manipulated by our more immature, prideful, fearful, codependent, materialistic nature. Some high vibe people were inspired to love and believe in themselves enough to not stay in something that seemed a little toxic in some way. And in high vibe Capricorn, they freed themselves from their more shadowy Capricorn nature within themselves. Again, in our loving nature of Pisces, we can love people, but if those people are being hurtful or unkind, or even if, we just see that kind of how you want to go live your life and what you think is just and fair and more what drives and motivates you is kind of different than how I want to live my life and what drives and motivates me. Can everybody who love each other and be heartbroken, but kind of what you emotionally, how you want to move forward. And again, some people have freed themselves from some things that, even if it's past pain and heartbreak, or having less people in their life who try to manipulate them or control them, they're more independent, and the other people might not be more independent. Or again, they're just more caught up in the world to such a degree that they are kind of shadowy energy is tipped out of balance. It's kind of more about these things and maybe not as balanced between their mind and their heart, listening more to love and intuition to guide them. It could be more their want for these things or their fear or codependency or something. And so the other people were inspired to let love and intuition guide them. That is going with the flow of the universe. And though they could have been sad and though they could have been heartbroken, they accept the truth, how we want to move forward and what we find maybe emotionally fulfilling and what we want to invest our time, energy, and effort into is different. So they freed themselves and they get to move on. And while they move on in life, having kind of learned the lesson they were meant to learn at this phase of life, the other people are going to keep repeating that pattern until if they ever decide that they have a problem with it. And they may never decide to have a problem with it. Some people can make their life being immature all their life, being more about themselves, being more stubborn, more prideful, more caught up in the world, more codependent on their friend or family group or certain social strata that they think is really important. Even if those people are people that they could feel are kind of bossy or controlling or manipulative or stubborn or want to be indulged. shadowy energy of a shadowy Taurus type relationship is kind of basically viewing life as that, well, that is the name of the game, isn't it? Whoever has more of what other people want, if you want those things, you should be willing to indulge them. And if you have more of those things that you think people want, other people should be willing to indulge you for those things. Well, now, some people really do have status, image, attractive, charming, whatever, right? Or victory and success, a lot of things of the world, status or power. And some people think, well, if they can't find someone to indulge them for whatever it is they think they bring to the table, and for some of these people, they're just narcissistic and they're full of themselves. But if they can't find someone to indulge them, then they think, anyway, that they'd be willing to indulge someone else. Because a shadowy Scorpio energy, the Eight of Cups, walking away from people who harness shadowy Scorpio, it can be people who they are more emotionally shallow and superficial than in their Three of Swords. They do live more from their mind than their heart. It is more about these things. Those things are the most important. And I will invest in someone or indulge someone if they have those things of the world that I want. And that's why when you're more mismatched, it's kind of really hard to, at a core foundational level of how you harness your Gemini energy. High vibe people are kind of more motivated and inspired to be in jobs and friendships and relationships with people because they enjoy that job. They love that job. They love those people. It's aligned with their truth. They think it's just and fair. It's balanced. There's some of these things of the world that they want, but it also has these other things that emotionally they want, and they're not willing to sacrifice staying in a job that they don't like with people who are shadowy. I will go find another job. I am not willing to give up these things that I emotionally are important to me in order to have those things of the world. And other people could decide, well, I'm willing to give up those things or those people in order to have these things, And if the core truth is we prefer to live more from our mind than our heart, we're going to want to be in a relationship probably with other people who do that, or people we can manipulate to make them think that's not the truth of who we are. And high vibe people don't want to manipulate anyone and don't want to be manipulated. But the people who think that way, that is how they view life. People use what they have to try to manipulate people. And if people have more of what someone wants, then you can manipulate them. And so they don't trust loving people, maybe because they've had some shadowy people in their life who manipulated them. And somewhere along the way, either they then think that way too, or they just decide they're going to be one of the shadowy people in the world to manipulate people. They're not doing love anymore. They gave up on their dreams and decided, well, by golly, if people manipulate loving people, I'm going to be one of the people who manipulates loving people. I will maybe try to present myself as a just and fair and loving person to get a loving person to get in a relationship with me. Little do they know, and they will not find out till later, that, oh, the relationship can only go so far. If you want it to become a more deep, meaningful relationship, no. You should stay in the relationship and do it this way. It will not become a more deep, meaningful relationship. It will stay a more superficial, shallow relationship. But because of these things of the world, or because we're friends, or because we're in a relationship, you don't want to become independent of it, fearful that your dreams won't come true. You'll settle for the illusion, won't you? Other people have already been there and done that and knew that those people were like that, and they moved away from them, and they don't want to repeat that pattern. So now, when the high vibe people go out in the world, they're willing to get to know people. They still have that hopeful, believing spirit. They didn't give up on their dreams. They still love and believe in themselves. They just saw who they needed to distance themselves from and not be in friendship or relationship with anymore because those people's truth was different. So now they're going back out in the world to meet other people. And they're going to meet, in a world of duality, you're always going to meet some people who want to be the next shadowy person to invest in a relationship with you and hide the truth of who they are. That they harness these energies in a more shadowy way. And you will kind of maintain balance within yourself and high vibe energy, temper your ego, not get more involved in a friendship or relationship until you get to know those people better, to get clear about what drives and motivates them and what their truth is. Like, I view high vibe Leo as I know how to give myself the things that I wish other people would have given me. So I'm not going to be more manipulated in my loving nature. I'm going to maintain balance. I'm going to get to know people. I'm willing to invest in people to get to know them. And as I get to know them and I kind of learn more about the truth of who they are, of what kind of drives and motivates them, if they're more immature, if they're more stubborn, if they're full of themselves, if they are more codependent, if they're more materialistic, if they have addictions, more defensive to love, aren't very authentic, hide behind their ego. And with some of the people, you'll be sad because it's like, damn, I would have really liked that to work out, but I'm not going to get in a more involved relationship because I've already been in relationships with people who are like that. And I already know I don't like that. So, you stay in the friend zone, and I'm going to keep moving forward with the people in my life that I already know and the people I've met who really are more balanced, more just, more fair, more authentic, more loving, more free from some things that could manipulate people that don't manipulate us to that degree anymore, like it could have at different stages of our life. We've all learned different lessons. Some people a long time ago, this and shadow could all be very egocentric and like, it has to be all about me and everybody should want to make it more about me and everybody should want to be in a relationship with me. Some people, that's like age 5 to 8, maybe, that people can be very, that the world revolves around them and everybody should want to make their life more about them. Other people kind of got out of their ego about that. They kind of grew up and matured themselves and realized if I want to be in more balanced, loving relationships, I need to get more balance within myself. It cannot be more about me. They see the truth of it and they grow and mature themselves. And if on their stages of going through life, they had things that maybe they indulged in to make themselves feel better, they could have learned that other loving people in their life distanced themselves from it because they felt it was kind of too much and kind of tipped out of balance instead of being more balanced. And then it's like, well, I can hang out with the people where it's more tipped out of balance and I can keep investing in it, but then I'll keep repeating this pattern. If this wasn't the idea that I had for my life, I need to see the truth of it. I need to quit investing in some of those things to the degree that I did, get more balance within myself, love and believe in myself, free myself from things that kind of had a stranglehold on me and the devil, and become more independent of those things. And then I can move forward with other people who also are in that energy and aren't still caught up in whatever this could be over here. And just like parent or children need to become more independent of maybe being more codependent on their friend group or their original family as their primary foundation in life, some people don't. And they get married to other people. The King and Queen of Pentacles is the only married through the deck. But either their own shadow nature, their more egoic nature, their self-protective, defensive nature, or their friend or family group is still the primary foundation in their life, but they can't marry those people and they want to be married. So they move forward in a relationship. But then as time goes by, there can be this conflict because they kind of have like divided loyalties. And they're not willing to become more independent of their original family, their friend group, their defensive nature, their egoic nature, to move forward being more independent. So, just like their shadow nature can manipulate them, people in their life can manipulate them. And then we kind of see the truth with some of those people that you're not more independent, and though I could like you and I could love you and you could be my friend, or a romantic interest, yeah, if you're not more independent and that's more the primary foundation in your life, even if it's being more about yourself or your ego or your defensive nature, then I'm going to let you enjoy that life and that relationship with those things or those people. But I don't want to be a part of it because, if you're going to move forward in a relationship, the third party in your relationship is kind of like, I have my truth, you have your truth, I have my dreams, you have your dreams. The the third party in the relationship is supposed to be love, where we have this common dream and for love for each other, that we see the truth of things that manipulate us that aren't conducive to those things moving forward in that way. And we offer love to those things, and we invest time, energy, and effort to work through those things to kind of get more balance within ourselves and see the truth of it. And we free ourselves from those things that tempt us to not keep putting in work and effort within ourselves and in those friendships and relationships with people who are working together with us from love. So, basically, if some people, sometimes some people were not, they could be just and fair and loving people, but kind of our idea of the dream life, what we think is just and fair, kind of what drives and motivates us. Like, I like to go do these things. You don't like to do those things. I'm kind of more driven and motivated in this way. You don't seem, we can all have our different things that make up what we would view as an emotionally fulfilling life, all the little components. I kind of look at it as putting a cookie recipe together. Some people are like, well, I want 1 teaspoon of this, a tablespoon of that, a cup of this, 3 cups of that. And the other people are like, no, no, no. No, that's just one teaspoon of the 3 cups. And, like theirs is completely the opposite way. you know, we should do this, not do this. We should do this on the weekend, not do that on the weekend. We should do this 10 times a year. We should do that only 1 time a year. It's trying to find the right mix. So there's people in our life who we know are more shadowy. We've probably seen the truth of those people and distance ourselves from them. Then there's people that are more on the same page as us, but there too, we could be at different stages of life. Some people could still be more investing in a phase of life that maybe we aren't in that phase of life anymore, right? Just like you can be single. You're ready to move forward differently than people who might be in a more committed relationship or a marriage. Can you like each other? Can you be sad you don't hang around with each other as much, but your lives are kind of taking you in different directions? Some people could get married and have children. Some people did get married, didn't have children. Didn't get married, didn't have children. Probably the people who are married and have children are probably going to hang out more with people who also are married and have children, Single people are probably going to hang around more single people. People who are in relationships might hang out with people more who are in relationships. And everybody could be kind of sad that there could be people in their life that are kind of choosing to kind of hang around different people than maybe they hung around with before. But that is kind of just the stage of life they're in. And again, we kind of get out of our ego about it. If we love them, we wish them peace and love. We seem to be on different pages now. Maybe we will, we can still spend time with some of the people in our life, just maybe not as much as we did. And then we maybe need to go find some other people who are more on the same page as we could be at any time. What's coming up for some people who harness a more worldly, shadowy Pisces energy that they don't see coming? High vibe people could be in a family dynamic also, dealing with other people in that family dynamic or children. Whenever we're in situations, it can be challenging. And there could be a part of us that almost feels like giving up and walking away. But high vibe people have learned to offer truth and love, because otherwise, later, they could end up in heartbreak that maybe they acted more out of their ego or were stubborn or weren't wanting to, put in work and effort so you can feel proud of the work and effort you put in. And if you feel like you have acted in a just and fair and loving and tempered way with people, but things then still are not moving, then, you can feel proud of yourself that you did everything you could and kind of leave with a clear conscience. Because if you're acting in that way and then other people are still doing what they're doing, if people were motivated and inspired to work with you in a more just and fair and balanced and loving way, they would. And some people have some lessons to learn, and it can be they haven't learned to offer love, to speak their truth, to be more just and fair. And they have these more immature, shadowy ways of going about things. No, I'm going to indulge myself in my more immature way. Look, I have a good idea. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And I bet they'll be heartbroken. And I bet they won't love and believe in themselves. And they'll come back and do it the way I want them to do it. And some people are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you did that. That is not the type of person I thought you were. This kind of reminds me of like when I was in friendships and relationships when I was like 18, 21, and 25. And people could be older now. And then it's like, oh my gosh. It's like, again, like someone trying to make you repeat an old pattern. It's like, I've already been there and done that. I have no interest in repeating that pattern, but apparently you do. And I'm going to speak my truth in love that I would like this to move forward, but that, whatever that is, needs to stop. And if that's not their truth, then you have the free will to live your life the way you want. Go live your life that way. And I'm leaving. And some of those people will be like, okay, if you're not willing to indulge me or let me manipulate you or manipulate you with these things of the world, then I'll go find someone else who does. And either they get in relationships and this whole scenario starts over with someone else. And if they're kind of like a immature way of whatever type of person and it's like getting a different job, well, they can kind of, shadowy energy is kind of wearing a false mask. That's shadowy Pisces, creating an illusion about the truth of who they are. And they go manipulate someone else. And then the same thing happens again. And eventually people fire them. People don't want to be their friend. People don't want to keep staying in a relationship with them. But some people are quite prideful and egotistical and full of themselves or very immature. And they're going to go repeat the pattern with someone else. And they're going to meet loving people who eventually will distance themselves. And they're going to meet other people who are kind of like them, who equally are kind of maybe immature and maybe full of themselves or more materialistic or caught up in whatever they're caught up in. And they could kind of think, oh my gosh, I've met someone who seems to be the right mix for me. That relationship, in a way, it just is that kind of relationship dynamic. And if people are willing to be in that kind of relationship, everybody has free will to manifest what they want to manifest. You knew it wasn't right for you. If you probably know exactly how that workplace, friendship, or relationship dynamic is going. You know how it's going to move forward because you've already been there and done that. If other people are willing to do that and they're happy with it, that's fine. You weren't happy with it. You found it confusing. You found it maybe superficial, shallow, immature, toxic, competitive, prideful, manipulative. Hey, teach our own. That wasn't my truth. And right now, some shadowy people are trying to manipulate some people right now. What's coming up for the shadowy people they might not see coming? The Page of Swords. Why? Because of the Knight of Pentacles. Well, because the shadowy people, Virgo energy in high vibe talks about doing this work within yourself to work through past pain, heartbreak, fear, insecurities, things that manipulate you, self-limiting beliefs, to love yourself, to free yourself from things that manipulate you. That's what high vibe people do. And the shadowy people could always be surprised when the more high vibe people in their life, who in all three of their air signs, unlike how they harness all three of their air signs in their Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini, they could always be surprised that other people are more in their Libra energy, more balanced within themselves, in their Aquarius energy, have more hope and faith and belief in themselves than making their life just more about them or these things of the world. And that in their Gemini nature of free will, that they really are someone who puts in work and effort to work through things that manipulate them. The shadowy people just want to keep staying in denial of the truth. If they're shadowy, they don't want to see the truth of it. If other people in their life who manipulate them, they don't want to see the truth about those people. They don't want to see the truth of how things within them and the world at large and people outside of them, they don't want to see the truth of how all those things manipulate them. And they don't understand how other people maybe free themselves from those things, because it's got a stranglehold on them. Well, what they don't understand is that the other people kind of decided to love themselves enough in their truth, in their dreams, in how they view life, to see the truth that this isn't just and fair. And they did that work within themselves to work through all of that. And that can be a hard problem kind of in Scorpio energy, because Scorpio energy can kind of be more this black and white, right, wrong, good, bad. We're complex. That's what Scorpio talks about. We're complex human beings emotionally. All the people we're dealing with are emotionally complex human beings. We've all got this more kind of shadowy nature and our more hopeful, believing, loving nature. Some people are much more shadowy. Some people are a little more balanced. Some people are very loving and giving and nurturing. And it can be hard for some people emotionally to kind of accept that, the gray in life, that yes, can we love them? Can there be things we appreciate about them? And can there be things that, but can there also be things that we don't appreciate about them? Acknowledge that they're kind of bossy. They're kind of manipulative. They're kind of full of themselves. They're kind of immature. They're kind of materialistic. And some people have a harder time with reconciling that. And so, and other people don't. They can accept it within themselves. So they can therefore accept it in others. And the people who might have a harder time accepting it within themselves could also have a hard time accepting it about other people. But more high vibrational people in their life are going to distance themselves from them, whether they're friend, family, adult child, romantic interest, because they see the shadowy people keep defending. They harness in their air sign energy and their Virgo. It could be more this idea, kind of this more immature way of viewing life, that people should want to indulge them. They indulge themselves. They think that's just and fair. They've maybe had people in their life who indulge them in their more immature way of thinking, logic and reasoning and behaving. And because those people they just kind of think other people will. But other people won't. That's why people who indulge people in poor behavior and people who do indulge in poor behavior kind of don't realize that they're shooting themselves in the foot, because them staying in denial of the truth, other people kind of indulging them in that way and not really encouraging them to kind of grow up and mature themselves, they end up, kind of not being able to function at appropriate levels in their life as they keep getting older, because other people, as people get older, assume that other people in the world have learned these lessons, and then they go work for them, become friends with them, marry them, and the other people find out, oh my gosh, you have not learned some of these lessons in life that I just thought everybody by certain ages in life had kind of tempered their more immature or egoic nature, or being full of themselves, or being so stubborn, or taking foolish risks, or being more codependent, or indulging in things to try to make them feel better, just thinking that you'd learned and done enough of that in your life to see the truth that there's some things and ways of being and acting and behaving you should no longer indulge yourself in, but they keep defending indulging themselves in that way. Again, it's like they have this illusion about love, which could be that people should love them no matter what they do. Full of themselves. Maybe they do have a certain status or image or work experience or college education, and think that because they bring those things to the table, that other people will overlook some of these more negative aspects. But it's about a balance. People at a workplace could have people that, yeah, you do bring and you do know how to do some of these things, and you might have this education, and we're looking for someone who can feel those things, but we also want you to be not doing some of this. And when it starts to get too tipped out of balance, or it doesn't seem like it's changing, and they're becoming independent, and they keep defending this certain way of being, eventually, just like friends and romantic interests, employers tell people, I'm sorry, but enough is enough, and we're going to move on without you. And again, some of those people, it's just, oh well, I'll go find someone else to manipulate. This is my truth. This is how I want to do it. I don't want to become independent of some of these ways of being or viewing life or acting or behaving. I think they're just and fair. They just need to go find someone who is willing to kind of maybe put up with them for whatever reasons those people have. The other people happily move on, being independent of them. So, if you were to look at the Pisces nature within yourself, everybody has their more hopeful, believing, loving Pisces nature. Everybody has their more shadowy, immature Pisces nature. One side or the other is kind of more in the driver's seat of people's lives. High vibe people are working together. They know they have their things of the world that they want. They know they have their fears and their insecurities. They know they have their hopeful, believing, loving nature. They offer love to their more shadowy nature. Kind of like a child, they're trying to grow up. That's learning how to play that role within yourself, to be a loving and encouraging person to yourself so that you can maintain balance within yourself. And that way you're able to learn the lessons you're meant to learn, not repeat poor past patterns, and you keep freeing yourself from things that aren't aligned with truth and love, because you do offer love to yourself and listen more to your intuition to guide you than your like fear and insecurity. And because of that, the high vibe people keep moving forward. But the shadowy people indulge their more immature Pisces nature that tells them, you don't have to do that. That's not your job. Let's just go get in a relationship with someone. That's their job. They're supposed to love us. We don't have to do that work within ourselves to love us, ourself. That's someone else's job. And that could be how some people grow up, never thinking that's their job. And that's very codependent. always looking outside of yourself for the answer, not thinking the answer lies within yourself. High vibe energy is, I know the answer lies within myself. And I need to quit repeating this pattern, looking for other people to love me and validate my worth and value. I first need to invest in loving myself, get out of some negative situations, and do this work to love and believe in myself and get more balance within myself. So then when I get in relationships, I maintain balance within myself. I don't indulge poor behavior in myself or others. When people show me they're shadowy, I wish them peace and I keep my distance and move away. And shadowy people do not like it when other people see the truth and they love and believe in themselves, because then they're not willing to stay in a more imbalanced relationship, kind of like a empath narcissist paradigm, and keep indulging them, thinking one day they'll change. We shouldn't be looking to get in relationships with people for them to change. We should accept the truth of where people are at. And they are where they are at. And if the way they are at is a way of living life or viewing life or conducting themselves, that is not how we're living our life. Like, if I'm not more immature, more reckless, more self-indulgent, more defensive, more materialistic, indulging in things to feel better to X degree, I shouldn't get myself involved with people who do. They're showing me in high vibe Leo, or kind of more of a shadowy Leo, they're showing me the truth of who they are. They just hope because I want to be in friendship or relationship or have a job that I will invest in it. I've learned to listen to my intuition. And if my intuition tells me, no, these people aren't who they say they are, I think they're wearing a false mask, I think they're more shadowy, then I'm going to listen to my intuition. That's the one thing shadowy people can't control. And that you could view the pentacles as these gifts you've been given. And one of the gifts you've been given is your intuition, which Pisces kind of talks about. But because we're human beings who have free will, and what we kind of in our pride and ego think we know best, even when our intuition tells us, you shouldn't do that, you should go home, this is not a good idea, we do it anyway. Well, pride comes before the fall. Some people did that enough times where it's like, no, that's it. I can't change people. When people show me the truth of who they are, I'm going to accept the truth of who they are. That's too bad. There could have been a lot of things I liked about them, but my intuition tells me no, and I'm going to listen to my intuition. Can I still know them, be friends with them? Yes, but if they keep showing me, shadowy or there too, I can only manifest my dreams into reality with other people who are on that page and willing to invest in that with me. And if there's people in my life that are not willing to do that, again, sometimes some of those people are doing that because they think they don't want to do it your way. They don't want to do a more just, fair, balanced, emotionally mature, be more independent, loving relationship. So they're purposely not investing in you, some of them, because they think that you won't keep loving and believing in yourself. And that eventually you'll give it up and you'll come back and do it the way they want. And some of them could do some really hurtful and unkind things. Like, well, if you're not going to be in a relationship with me, look, I'll get in a relationship with these people. And all of that helps contribute to you seeing through the illusion of some people. Loving people who really love you won't want you to be hurt. Loving people wouldn't try to manipulate you. More emotionally mature people would not do that. If they really are a just and fair person, they treat you in a just and fair way. And so while they keep doing that, all of it helps other people work through the heartbreak and the illusion, and they no longer view those people as people that their dreams can come into reality with. And so that's why it ends up they don't give up on their dreams, because they see their dreams couldn't come into reality with those people if those people aren't willing to invest in truth and love. And they see how they're kind of living their life. It's like, well, apparently that's your truth and how you want to live your life. I accept the truth of it. I'm going to go meet people in the world who I think are more emotionally mature, balanced, loving, and get to know those people. When we quit investing our time, energy more in the people who aren't being more just and fair, it frees us up to heal and to meet people who are more on that same page. And keep moving forward with the people in our life who do keep working together with us in that way. So there you go, Pisces. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.